The following is a class on the Srimad Bhagavatam, First Canto, Chapter number 2, Text number 2, given by His Grace, Shriman Sankarshan Das Adhikari, recorded on September 15th, 2010, in Sofia, Bulgaria.
Srimad Bhagavatam 1-2. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Sutta Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto that great sage, Shukadev Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life, sannyas, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread or the ceremonies observed by the higher castes, his father Vyasadeva, fearing separation from him, cried out, 'O my son! Indeed, only the trees which were absorbed in the same feelings of separation echoed in response to the aggrieved father.'" Report. The institution of Varna and Ashram prescribes many regulative duties to be observed by its followers. Such duties enjoin that a candidate willing to study the Vedas must approach a bona fide spiritual master and request acceptance as his disciple. The sacred thread is the sign of those who are competent to study the Vedas from the Acharya or the bona fide spiritual master. Sri Shukadev Goswami did not undergo such purificatory ceremonies because he was a liberated soul from his very birth. Generally, a man is born as an ordinary being, and by the purificatory processes he is born for the second time. When he sees a new light and seeks direction for spiritual progress, he approaches a spiritual master for instruction in the Vedas. The spiritual master accepts only the sincere inquirer as his disciple and gives him the sacred thread. In this way, a man becomes twice born or a dvija. After qualifying as a dvija, one may study the Vedas, and after becoming well versed in the Vedas, one becomes a vipra. A vipra, or a qualified Brahmin, and thus realizes the Absolute and makes further progress in spiritual life until he reaches the Vaishnava stage. The Vaishnava stage is the postgraduate status of a Brahmin. A progressive Brahmin must necessarily become a Vaishnava, for a Vaishnava is a self-realized, learned Brahmin. Srila Shukadev Goswami was a Vaishnava from the very beginning, therefore there was no need for him to undergo all the processes of the Varnashram institution. Ultimately, the aim of Varnashrama Dharma is to turn a crude man into a pure devotee of the Lord, or a Vaishnava. Anyone, therefore, who becomes a Vaishnava accepted by the first-class Vaishnava, or Uttamadhikari Vaishnava, is already considered a Brahmana, regardless of his birth or past deeds. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted this principle and recognized Srila Haridas Thakur as the Acharya of the holy name, although Thakur Haridas appeared in a Mohammedan family. In conclusion, Srila Shukadev Goswami was born a Vaishnava, and therefore Brahmanism was included in him. He did not have to undergo any ceremonies. Any low-born person, be he a Kirata, Kunda, Andhra, Pulinda, Pukasha, Abira, Shamba, Yavana, Kasta, or even lower, can be delivered to the highest transcendental position by the mercy of Vaishnavas. Srila Shukadev Goswami was the spiritual master of Srila Sutta Goswami, and therefore offers his respectful obeisances unto Srila Shukadev Goswami before he begins his answers to the questions of the sages at Naimisharanya. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jata Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakon Vikanscha. So, what is the point? The point is, that Prabhupada points out, that before answering these questions of the sages, Siddha Goswami is first offering his respectful obeisances unto his spiritual master. So the point is that without the grace of one's spiritual master, one cannot answer the questions. In other words, if one thinks that on one's own one can speak very nice wisdom and is not in the mood of respecting his spiritual master, then such answers will simply be a disturbance in the human society. They will... Oh, yes, Chen.
Това, на което наблягаше Шрила Прабхупада в коментара, е, че преди да отговоря на въпросите на мъдреците, Сута Госвами отдава своите смирени почитания на своя духовен учител, което означава, че ако човек си мисли, че може да говори и да представя някаква мъдрост, без да търси благословите на своя духовен учител, тогава неговите отговори ще бъдат просто, ще внасят безпокойство в обществото.
In other words, the disciple considers himself to be a fool.
С други думи, ученикът трябва да смята себе си за глупак.
He doesn't consider himself to be a great learned scholar.
Той не се смята за голям учен, образован.
Even if he is highly advanced in scriptural knowledge.
Дори и той да е много напреднал в изучаването на писанието.
He understands that without the grace of his spiritual master, his spiritual knowledge is zero.
Той разбира, че без милостта на своя духовен учител, духовното му знание е нула.
See the example of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Вижте примера с Бхактисиданта Сарасвати.
Very, very learned scholar.
Той бил много образован учен.
But yet he submitted himself as disciple unto Gorakishore Das Babaji,
Но той се е отдал като ученик на Гора Кишора Дас Бабаджи,
who couldn't even sign his own name.
за когото се казва, че дори не може да се подписва сам.
So, this is very good lesson.
И това е един много добър урок за нас.
It is only by the mercy of Guru that one is qualified and competent to give Vedic wisdom.
Че само по милостта на Гуру човек става компетентен да предава ведическото знание.
Mukam karoti vachalam pangum lam nagategadam yat kripatamahang vande shi guru dinataranam. By the mercy of the bona fide spiritual master, a dumb man can deliver eloquent speeches. A lame man can cross over the mountain. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master.
По милостта на духовният учител, дори един неграмотен човек може да говори много красноречиво и един сакат човек може да изкачва планини, затова отдавам смирените си почитания.
It's a fact, as soon as one takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, one becomes empowered to preach Krishna consciousness.
Факт е, че в момента, в който човек приеме подслон при авторитетен духовен учител, той става упълномощен да проповядва Кришна съзнание.
Doesn't require any previous qualifications. Simply, if one takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, then by the grace of Guru, he is empowered to preach.
Не са необходими никакви предишни квалификации. Ако човек приеме подслон при истински духовен учител, той става упълномощен да проповядва.
A devotee doesn't have to reinvent some new philosophy.
Предан отдаленият не трябва да открива някаква нова философия.
The perfect knowledge is already given by the previous acharya.
Защото съвършеното знание вече е дадено от предишния ачаря.
He's simply a delivery man, just like the DHL man. That's all.
Той е просто като доставчик, като куриер.
His duty is to knock on your door and deliver the package. That's all.
Неговият дълг е просто да почука на вратата ви и да ви достави пратката.
Now if he thinks, I'll open up the package, I'll add something to it, I'll take something out of it, he is useless. DHL will fire him immediately.
Ако той си мисли, аз мога да отворя пратката и да взема нещо от нея или да добавя нещо, тогава той е безполезен и ще го уволнят веднага.
So the disciple, he simply has to take verbatim what he has heard from his spiritual master.
Затова ученикът просто трябва буквално дума по дума да вземе това, което е чул от духовния учител.
In this way there is potency.
И тогава ще има сила.
It's like Bhagavad Gita as it is.
Както казваме Bhagavad
There is no adulteration.
Bhagavad Gita така каквато е, няма промяна в нея.
We have seen these other editions how much they adulterate the words of Krishna.
Ние виждаме в тези други издания колко са променени думите на Кришна.
Just like as I've explained before, I was visiting with that religion professor at Rice University in Houston, Texas.
Както преди съм обяснявал, имах посещение преди един професор в университета в Тексас.
He wanted to know, why do you have Bhagavad Gita as it is?
И той искаше да знае защо имаме Bhagavad Gita такава каквато е.
So I wanted to illustrate to him it is different from these other Bhagavad Gitas.
И аз исках да му покажа как това издание е различно от другите Bhagavad Gita.
So he had many Bhagavad Gitas on his shelf. I said, give me that one. I just pointed at one at random. Give me that Bhagavad Gita.
Той имаше много издания на Bhagavad Gita на рафта и аз му казах, дай ми ето това издание, например.
I turned to chapter 9, text number 34.
И аз отворих на 9 глава 34 стих.
Manmanal mamad bhakto majajji mang namaskuru mamme vaishashi yukvaivang atmanang matpadayana. Just to see how the scholar had translated it.
За да видя как ученият е превел този стих.
And he translated it like this.
И неговия превод беше следния.
It started off just the same as we hear in Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. Engage your mind always in thinking of me.
Той започваше както и в Bhagavad Gita на Шрила Прабхупад. Винаги ангажира ума си в мисъл.
Offer obeisances and worship me.
Отдавай ми почитание и ме обожавай.
Being completely absorbed in me.
И като бъдеш напълно погълнат по този начин в мен,
You will become me.
ти ще станеш мен.
Whoa! What a difference.
Само вижте каква разлика.
You become me.
Ти ще станеш мен.
You see, this is called adulterating the teachings of Krishna.
Ето това се нарича да се променят ученията на Кришна.
If you worship me, you'll become me.
Ако ме обожаваш, ти ще станеш мен.
But how is that possible?
Но как е възможно това?
Krishna clearly states in the second chapter,
Кришна ясно казва във втора глава,
Natvevahang jatunasang natang mene javjanadipa nachayvana bhavishama savajavayamataha param. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be.
Кришна казва, че в миналото никой от нас, нито аз, нито ти, нито тези царе, не е имало време, когато да не сме съществували, нито в бъдеще някой от нас ще престане да съществува.
So how this rascal scholar can say the devotee becomes Krishna?
Как може този негодник учен да каже, че предано отдаденият става Кришна?
Simply bogus.
Това просто е една фалшива, лъжлива философия.
Krishna never said such a thing. You become me.
Кришна никога не е казал такова нещо. Ти стани мен.
So if we don't have a bona fide spiritual master, we will speculate with our own interpretation.
И така, ако нямаме авторитетен духовен учител, ние просто ще спекулираме собственици.
I think this, I think that. My own opinion.
Мисля това, ще даваме собствено мнение.
But the difficulty is our thinking process is going on within the modes of material nature.
Проблемът е, че процесът на нашето мислене се осъществява в гуните на материалната природа.
If you try to speculate yourself out of your conditioned state, you will not be successful.
Ако се опитаме чрез спекулации да се измъкнем от обуславянето си, няма да успеем.
Mavaivangshо jiva loke, jiva buddha sanatana, vanashashtani indriyani perkatistani karashati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts.
Кришна каза, че живите същества в този обусловен свят са мои неразделно свързани частици.
Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses which include the mind.
И поради обусловения шесте сетивания, от които е ума.
So whatever mental speculation you may do, it is simply your conditioned mind, that's all.
И каквито умствени спекулации да родите, това е плод на вашето обусловено ум.
Your speculation is conditioned speculation.
Вашите спекулации са обусловени спекулации.
Therefore, your conditioned speculation will keep you conditioned.
Затова вашите обусловени спекулации ще ви държат обусловени.
If you want to be liberated from your conditioned consciousness, then you must be blessed by the dust from the lotus feet of the pure devotee.
Ако искате да бъдете освободени от вашето обусловено състояние, трябва да бъдете благословени от праха от лотосовите ноземи от чист преданен.
And then by the mercy of Krishna's pure devotee,
И тогава по милостта на чистия преданен,
the truth will be revealed to you.
ще ви се разкрие истина.
We require pure devotee's mercy.
Вие се нуждаете от милостта на чистия преданен.
Therefore, Sutta is offering as obeisances to Shukadeva Goswami.
Затова Сута отдава своите почитания на Шукадева Госвами.
That's how we get the mercy. We have to offer obeisances.
Това е начинът, по който получаваме милостта. Трябва да отдадем.
We have to humbly submit ourselves as a servant of the pure devotee.
Ние трябва смирено да се отдадем като слуга на чистия преданен.
That's how we get the mercy.
Това е начинът, по който може да получим милостта.
If we want to argue with the pure devotee, or want to defy the pure devotee's instructions, we will never get his mercy.
Ако искаме да предизвикаме чистия преданен или да отречеме неговите инструкции,
Even if he gives his mercy, we will not be able to take it like a turtle inside a shell, you see.
ние никога няма да получим. Дори той да ни даде своята милост, ние просто няма да можем да я приемеме, защото сме като в черупка.
You have to open your heart to the mercy of the pure devotee
Ние трябва да отвориме сърцата си за милостта,
by humbly submitting yourself at his lotus feet.
като смирено се отдадеме в неговите лотосови нозе.
And then in this move, when you completely submit yourself to the pure devotee, then he can shower you with unlimited blessings.
И тогава, когато в това настроение се отдадете в лотосовите нозе на чистия преданен, той може да ви дари с
He can
безкрайни.
empower you to preach this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world.
Той може да ви упълномощи да проповядате Кришна съзнание по целия свят.
So in this way, we have to understand the significance of this verse.
По този начин трябва да разберем важността на този стих.
He doesn't, Sutta Goswami does not immediately begin answering these questions of the sages.
Сута Госвами не започва веднага да отговаря на въпросите на мъдреците.
He first must offer his obeisances to Guru Maharaj,
Най-напред той трябва да отдаде своите почитания на Гуру Махарадж,
so that he gets the empowerment to preach.
за да може да бъде упълномощен да проповядва.
So we must always be in this mood of offering our respectful obeisances to our spiritual master.
Затова ние трябва да сме винаги в настроението да даваме своите смирени почитания.
And as we sing every day,
И както пеем всеки ден,
at least 3 times a day,
поне 3 пъти дневно,
Yasha prasada bhagavat prasado, Yasha prasada nagati kutopi, Nayam stuvam stasya yasastri sanjam, Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. At least 3 times a day we must offer our respectful obeisances to the lotus feet of our spiritual master. At least 3 times.
поне 3 пъти на ден, трябва да отдаваме смирените си почитания в лотосовите нозе на нашия духовен учител.
3 sanja. What are the 3 sanjas? That's morning, noon and evening.
Кои са тези 3 сандия? Това са сутрин, обед и вечер.
At least.
Поне.
Actually, at every minute we should be offering our respectful obeisances to our spiritual master.
Всъщност, ние постоянно трябва да отдаваме смирените си почитания на духовния учител.
Because that is how we become connected with Krishna.
Защото това е, по този начин ние се свързваме с Кришна.
To whatever extent we worship our spiritual master,
Степента, в която обожаваме нашия
to
духовен
that extent we realize Krishna.
в такава степен ние осъзнаваме Кришна.
If I think I don't need the spiritual master, I'll just step on his head and go to Krishna, well, Krishna won't accept us.
Ако ние си мислим, нямам нужда от духовен учител, ще стъпа
Who are you, upstart? Get out.
на главата му и директно ще се обърна към Кришна. Кришна няма да ни приеме.
So we must go through the medium of Guru.
Затова ние трябва да използваме
That is the purport of this verse.
на Гуру и това е смисълът на този стих.
And if you have the blessings of your spiritual master,
И ако имате благословиите на вашия духовен
You can preach unlimitedly.
Тогава вие може да проповядвате безгранично.
You'll have full empowerment, full potency.
Ще бъдете изцяло пълномощни.
Sufficient potency to even revolutionize the entire planet.
Ще имате достатъчно сила да революционирате цялата планета.
Sufficient potency to deliver the entire universe.
Достатъчно сила за да освободите цялата вселена.
Therefore, we should always humbly submit ourselves at the lotus feet of our spiritual master.
Затова ние винаги трябва смирено да се отдаваме в лотосовите нозе на нашия духовен.
To get his full blessings for our Krishna consciousness and our spreading of Krishna consciousness.
За да получим неговите благослови, пълните му благослови и да проповядваме Кришна съзнание и да станем самите ние.
So, I can ask now if there's any questions.
В обратния случай, когато човек не е получил такъв подслон или в такъв духовен учител, той има ли право упълномощение да проповядва въобще Кришна съзнание?
It is said that one becomes empowered to preach Krishna consciousness when he takes shelter of the bona fide spiritual master. And his question is, if one has not taken shelter of the spiritual master, is he at all allowed, or has he the right to preach at all?
Right?
The right to preach at all.
He doesn't have the right to preach, really. We see that's the problem with these Ritvik people, you know.
Той няма право да проповядва, както с тези ритвик хора.
They don't really have the right to preach.
Те нямат правото да проповядват.
Someone who is not bringing the message, I see what a disturbance they make. They're not only making so much blasphemy themselves, but they're training other people to be blasphemous. I get emails from people who've been trained by the Ritviks, and they're just full of blasphemy. And they think that they're some advanced Gyanis, you see. They were trained by the Ritvik people, and now they're training people to become blasphemers. It's crazy. It's madness. It's complete madness.
Аз виждам, например, тези ритвик, последователите на Ритвик, те не само, че проповядват, а и обучават и други хора, които ми пишат имейли. Аз виждам как просто те са изпълнени с оскърбления на другите. Те не проповядват.
So without the blessings of a bona fide spiritual master, one cannot preach. One will not be empowered, will not be able to properly present Krishna consciousness.
Затова без благословиите на авторитетен духовен учител човек няма право да проповядва, защото няма да може правилно да представя Кришна съзнание.
His preaching will be disturbance, that's all.
Неговото проповядване ще бъде просто обезпокоително за другите.
Question?
Много въпроси ми възникнаха във връзка с тази лекция и не знам къде да започна. Може би там Шрила Прабхупада казва, че всъщност Сута Госвами казва, че Шукадева Госвами не е преминал през обреда, там през обедите, не се е пречисти чрез свещения шнур и така нататък. След това Шрила Прабхупада говори в коментар за как човек трябва да се развива, нали, от неща направени така. И по времето на Шрила Прабхупада бях чул, че теста за забраната посвещение бил съставен от 10 въпроса, които били върху основни теми от Бхагавад Гита. Докато сега се проповядали, че за да станеш брамана, едва ли не трябва да завършиш Бхакти Веданта в някои от вижте заведения, какъв е коментар.
It is mentioned in the verse and the purport that Shukadeva Goswami did not undergo the purificatory processes like the sacred thread and the others. But it also describes how one gradually becomes qualified as a Brahmana and Vaishnava. And he has heard that in the beginning, the test for a Brahmana, in the beginning of when Srila Prabhupada was here, the test to become a Brahmana was a list of 10 questions, basic questions on the philosophy. But nowadays there is a mood that one should study all
The standards are different in different places of the world. It's really up to the local authorities.
Стандартите са различни в различни...
Even during Prabhupada's time, it was up to the local authority when who they would recommend and they would not recommend.
Дори по времето на Прабхупад зависело от местните авторитети кой ще препоръча.
That was the standard when Prabhupada was here.
Това е бил стандарт, когато Прабхупад е бил тук.
My temple president was very hard on me. He wouldn't recommend me for years.
Моят храмов президент така много тежко се отнася към мен, дори не ме препоръча за много години.
I got first initiation in 1971 and then second in 1975. He made me wait 4 years for second initiation.
Аз получих първо посвещение 71 година и второ чак 75-та. Чаках 4 години за второ посвещение.
He was very, very tough on me.
И така той беше много хеви към мен.
That he was so tough that later on he apologized to me for being so tough with me.
И дори по-късно ми се извини за това.
In later years he was very embarrassed of how he had been so heavy with me.
И по-късно той осъзна, че се отнесъл прекалено тежко към мен.
But I had there was no exam taking in those days. It was just whenever you're temple president. That's how it was practically seen. No, there was no exams given for first or second initiation. It was just if you've been chanting 16 rounds for 6 months and following the four regulated principles, first initiation. Another 6 months, second initiation. That was the minimum requirement.
По това време нямаше тестове, ставаше по препоръка и минималното изискване беше 6 месеца да повтаряш 16 кръга и да следваш принципите за първо посвещение.
When I met with Srila Prabhupada, privately met with him to get my Brahman initiation, he had one question. He said, "Are you chanting 16 rounds regularly?"
Когато лично се срещнах с Шрила Прабхупада да получи Брамана посвещение, той ме попита, мантруваш 16 кръга?
I said, "Oh yes."
И аз казах, "О, да."
And he gave me this ribbon.
И той ми даде второ посвещение.
He wanted to see that you were fixed in the regulated principles. That was the main thing. But then he did institute there should be some, they should become learned in the philosophy also. Those things were stated. The whole Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava, Bhakti Vedanta, and Bhakti Sarvabhauma titles, that was envisioned by Prabhupada and never fully implemented during his time.
Тези всички титли, за които се споменава, свързани с изучаването на шастрите, те Шрила Прабхупада ги е имал визия за тях, но по неговото време...
So Prabhupada would certainly be pleased to see if we had, they were now instituting these training programs in the Shastras. He'd be very pleased to see them, know them. He wanted that, but it never happened.
Шрила Прабхупада е много доволен да види, че ние провеждаме такива програми за получаване на тези титли, но по него време това не се е случило.
One temple was having 7 classes a day. He was very, very much like them.
В един храм имало по 7 лекции на ден и
he wants us to become learned in all of these books that he has given us.
Защото Шрила Прабхупада искал да ставаме много учени в тези книги.
So that's a requirement for second initiation. It's very good.
И ако това изискване за второ посвещение е много добро.
They even have a course now for gurus.
Сега дори има такъв курс за гуру, да се квалифицира.
And then also they have a rule now: you can't be initiating guru unless you got your Bhakti Shastri, unless you attend the seminar, the guru seminar. You can't initiate disciples even now. They have a rule like that.
И сега има такова правило, че ако не си получил Бхакти Шастри и не си посетил този семинар за...
Luckily I got in before they made the rules.
Не може да станеш гуру. Всъщност аз успях да стана гуру преди да направя тия правила.
But actually, it's not that I'm not learned in the scriptures. I'm studying every day the scriptures.
Но не е така, че аз нямам знание върху писанията, да ги изучавам всеки ден.
But what about those who are extra learned and they see that because we didn't understand, so now we can understand, like
Yeah. Well, now we have exceeded Prabhupada because we have We read Bhaktivinoda Thakur and we read Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and we now have better understanding than Prabhupada did because we're more advanced than Srila Prabhupada to understand Bhaktisiddhanta and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I mean, how ludicrous, how disgusting is such a mentality, to be honest. That now we know better than Srila Prabhupada. We've read Bhakti. What did they know? They know nothing. They only know what Prabhupada is empowering them to understand. And if they think they can know something beyond what Prabhupada has given, they're idiots. They're complete idiots. Next question. Yeah.
Шрила Прабхупада казва, че свещения шнур е за не само за браманите, за кшатрите и за вайшите, само шурите не могат да получават свещен шнур, така че ако може Санкаршан да изясни какво значението на свещения шнур при хората, при положение, че всички получават свещен шнур, а пък имат различни качества. Всички могат да получат свещен шнур, но имат различни качества, брамани, вайши и кшатри, без шур.
It is said that the sacred thread can be given only to the higher castes, the brahmanas, the kshatriyas and the vaishyas.
Yeah.
But now we see that the sacred thread is given to all, people from different backgrounds.
Yes, and that is also confirmed in the scriptures, that even a dog eater can become can become a brahmana, twice born brahman. That is also confirmed in the scriptures.
Също така се потвърждава в писанията, че дори един кучеядец може да се квалифицира като брамана и да получи свещения шнур.
Въпросът ми беше, че примерно виждаме Арджуна. Арджуна на колесницата се вижда, че той също има браман шнур. В смисъл, кшатрите също имат браман шнурове, вашите имат браман шнурове. Какво е значението на свещения шнур и на гайатри при тях? В смисъл, те вече са брамани, въпреки че имат такива дейности.
Okay. And so his question is, we see, for example, that the kshatriyas, like Arjuna, they wear also a brahmana thread, the sacred thread. And so his question is, what is the meaning of the sacred thread for those?
Sacred thread means one who is twice born by the bona fide, it's described here. He's twice born by the bona fide spiritual master.
Свещения шнур означава някой, който е два пъти роден, който е получил посвещение от духовен учител.
Prabhupada is describing, right?
Това се описва тук в коментара. Това е значението на свещения шнур.
In the Vedic culture, the Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahman, they can all become twice born. Shudra cannot, but Shudra can be elevated to those positions. If he remains Shudra, he with no Vedic knowledge, with no spiritual master, but he wants